Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nareman Hamdan, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey, everybody. I'm Nareman Hamdan, and this is Driven Unscripted Success Podcast. Today on this podcast, we're going to interview a professional and financially successful person that will share his experience and tips with you of how he got to where he is today. He's zooming in all the way in from Asheville, North Carolina. He made it through the storm, thankfully. We have Kam Knight zooming in with us, and Kam is a coach, an international speaker, and a best-selling author of a dozen books in the area of mental performance and personal mastery. Hey, Kam, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Sorry to hear you got affected by the Hurricane Helene. I think I said that right?
Yeah, I think it might have been Helen or Helene.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, something like the little pronunciation there.
Yeah.
So, Kam, if you can give us a quick snapshot of your business, what you do, how it works, all that good stuff. Can you share some insight on that for us and some tips about what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So as you had mentioned, I am an author of a dozen books in the area of mental performance, such as memory, concentration, and speed reading, as well as personal mastery, such as self-talk, visualization, and goal setting. And on top of that, I have a course called Conquering Terminal Resistance. It answers a question I had my whole life, which is, why is it if I want to do something, I know what to do and I know how to do it, and I have the motivation and desire to do it, but for one reason or another, I can't or don't do it. And I realized there's a part of our brain that is designed to hold us back and is actively working to hold us back. And on top of the course, I also have this healing program. I developed a technique to help people heal. And in terms of business, what's really helping me is really going the book route. You may have heard people saying these days that the book is a new business card. And in many ways, it's not just a business card, but it's also a lead magnet. So I have a variety of books that I sell, and each of my books, I have a link where I offer them a free gift. And then they can sign up to my newsletter. And so now I generate leads through my newsletter, which I can pitch them my course. And, I put a lot of time and effort into my books and courses. It's not just about financial. It's like something I'm really passionate about. And when people really enjoy my books, they want to get that course. And but a lot of people are really enjoying my course. And a lot of people say that the completion rate on a course that they buy, it's like 2%.
Wow.
I'm happy to say that my percentage is about 20% because the information and the insights I put in, it's really not available anywhere. It came from my own journey of growth and healing, as well as traveling to 100 countries. And then from my course, if people are still stuck, I developed this technique that can help them really very quickly overcome some deep-rooted trauma, PTSD, or challenges that they're not aware of that's holding them back.
That's pretty impressive. And I did read on your website that, you started all of this, you had gotten laid off work, and then you went to go get your CPA certification.
Yeah.
And what that is where this stemmed from, because you had mentioned that that's like one of the hardest certifications to get.
Yes. Yeah.
And you had to figure out how to do memorization and read faster, but yet comprehend everything. And then that's where your idea came. And
yeah, that's actually, it's interesting because I was an accountant by trade.
Okay.
More of a math person.
No opposites, right?
Exactly. Math person, not into writing, not into language. In fact, English is my second language. So I wasn't even a good writer or speaker of the language. And so that's why I think I naturally just veered towards math and accounting, because I felt like that was something that took on my strength versus a weakness. But like you had mentioned, I was gonna sit for the CPA exam, and at the time, it was one of the most difficult certification exams. It had a first-time pass rate of only 15%. And I just thought to myself, I don't know where that thought came from, but I'm glad it came. I'm like, well, maybe I should take some time to learn some learning and studying techniques, because the time I put in to do that could help me save much more time in the studying. And sure enough, that was the case. I learned some really cool memory, concentration, organization, and creativity techniques. And they helped me pass the CPA. And I was kind of surprised by that. And I thought to myself, intelligence is kind of overrated. Like some people, yes, who seem to operate pretty highly, they do because their brain just naturally works in line with some of the techniques I learned. But if you can learn those techniques and apply yourself, you can operate just as well or more. And because a lot of these techniques were like talking about how the brain works and the mind, I was just fascinated by that. And so I've just been on this exploration of really understanding the mind and how it works. But more importantly, why it keeps us from doing things that we want to do.
Right, which the mind is so fascinating, because I mean, it's basically it's trainable. So,
Yes.
and it also, once it learns, it's kind of like a computer.
Yes.
It learns certain things, and some things could be not positive, and then you have to retrain your brain how to get out of that to think in a more positive mindset.
Yes.
But so that's pretty fascinating. I was looking at your website and just saw a few books here. Speed reading, I could have used that years and years ago. It was taking me a lot of time. Your mind mapping, and then I really am intrigued by the everyday memory, easy ways to remember names, dates, and facts. Because that alone, I mean, I'm horrible with names when I meet people, and I literally have to pause and just repeat the name in my head 3 or 4 times. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm definitely going to look into that book to check it out. So let me ask you, I mean, obviously there's a lot of competition and being an author and having a niche, in the psyche and what you're doing space. What sets you apart, do you think? And what comes easy to you that others find challenging?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. I think I could attribute my success to one main thing. And it's something that just for some reason has always come easy to me, is the ability to kind of see where the industry is moving. And so what gives me an advantage is I try to always be a first mover. For some reason, the way my mind works, like I could see, like I saw the evolution of the ebooks and nobody saw it coming. So I was one of the first people to publish a book on the Amazon Kindle. And so this was nearly 20 years ago, where nobody had even heard of the Kindle. And everybody was telling me that no one's going to want to read books on an e-reader. People want to read books, like have a physical book in hand. And I had enough people telling me that I even started to question myself, but I still went with my gut. And at the time, I wasn't, I would say, the best writer. Like I told you, I had challenges with the English language, whatever. But I really enjoyed the topic of the mind and writing about it. So I put a few books out there. They weren't very long, like 30 to 40 pages. And I started to get good feedback. And so I went with it. And what was cool is because at the time, if you wanted a book on my topic, mine was the only one available. So as an early mover, that was a really great advantage. And so I kind of got grandfathered into Amazon's algorithm. And for a while, Amazon was just pushing my books without me marketing. So a large part of my marketing career or my author career was really putting no effort into marketing, just becoming an early mover. And so the reason I even went into the course route is because as I saw more and more people coming onto Amazon and jumping onto writing books, I knew the market was going to get saturated. In fact, I saw a lot more books on my topic showing up in the searches, and they were kind of competing for me. And so around like 2014 to 2015, Amazon released Amazon Ads. And so I was a first mover on that, which was really nice. Everyone was jumping onto Facebook ads and Google ads. But what was really great about Amazon ads for authors was they made it so you didn't need any pictures or videos. All you needed was the copy, and the copy only had to be 140 characters. So you didn't have to spend all this time creating all these expensive ads and images and videos. It was just 140 characters, and the image had to be your book. And so it was so easy to create ads. So I was one of the first movers on ads. So as people were jumping onto Amazon publishing and books, I'm like, okay, what's the next step? I'm going to start running ads before people even really knew about ads or the potential for it. So that gave me a lot of traction. And then Audible came out and nobody really knew about it. So I was one of the first to jump on Audible. And it was the same thing again. It was, if you wanted an audiobook on the topic that I wrote about, like at the time, my book was the only one available. So again, I was doing really well without any marketing. I wasn't going on podcasts or anything like that. It was just because I was one of the first movers.
Right.
And so things have changed now. Like there's so many people publishing books, and now with ChatGPT, I saw the future again. I'm like, all right, well, ChatGPT is making it so easy to write. And from a statistic I heard was that Amazon publishes like 4,000 to 7,000 new books a day.
Wow.
And I think it might be even more. And so again, I'm forward thinking, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be saturated. Ads are going to become more expensive. So let's pivot. And, I pivoted into courses, and courses became big during COVID when everybody was staying in and they needed to find a way to make money. And so now the courses thing is kind of gotten saturated. And so now I am pivoting again. So I guess, long story short, with hopefully some helpful examples, the key to my success has just been to be one of the early movers and to get in when there's not a lot of competition. And when I see things getting saturated or competition growing, get out and find something where there's less competition.
Yeah. So more or less you're a risk taker. So you'll be the guinea pig and to be the first to experiment it, and it's paid off,
Yeah.
I mean, and granted they are, good risks to take in this case.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. So has there been a book, a podcast, or someone that's recently changed your outlook or approach?
Yeah. So right now I'm in another pivot because AI is moving so fast. For much of my entrepreneurial career, I could more or less be a solopreneur. I could write books, I could publish it, I could run ads. I have my newsletter that I provide valuable content to, and then, pitch my course. So it didn't require a lot of people and teams. But with, like I said, AI kind of really officially being here with ChatGPT coming out literally 2 years ago this month, I was like, okay, it's time to pivot. So I started getting more out of the digital realm, and I started going into networking and more people where there's a lot more people. And I met a guy named Bill Walsh. He's a big business guru. He is so well connected. He knows presidents and prime ministers of countries. In fact, about 6 months ago, I got to meet the prime minister of Bahamas and the former prime minister because of him.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And one of the things he stresses is that if you want to go alone, you can go fast. But if you want to go far, you have to go with others.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I think I've gone pretty far on my own. Like I've traveled to 100 countries and I've done whatever I want, most things I wanted on my own. But again, I'm seeing that there's going to be a big change and need for pivot because of artificial intelligence. And he's kind of really changed his perspective where it really helps to be connected to other people, especially people who are playing at a high level.
Absolutely.
And I didn't really fully understand it until I met him and started being connected to some of his Rolodex of people. And I mean, it's amazing. Like he is almost good friends with the guy who took Pixar public.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he kind of coaches a lot of these big famous authors, like Les Brown, people who are doing. So he's like the man behind the man that nobody knows. But when you are around people who are playing at a high level, things just move so much easily. It's like, hey, I want to do this thing. And that person could be like, oh, yeah, I have a network of whatever. I can introduce you to them. And boom, like in an instant, what would take a person years or even a decade to build, you can have access to just by knowing the right person.
Absolutely. And that's why, networking is a big, big key factor in constantly being out there and just talking to people, because you truly don't know who the person is you're going to be talking to randomly, from times. And, and with your experience, you grinded you've been doing this for 20 years, so then going to, how did you meet Bill Walsh?
At a networking thing.
Yeah. So there you go, to networking thing, went there, met him, and I'm a firm believer of, if you you're a product of your surroundings.
Yes.
So if you surround yourself with, like unmotivated people, or, you're going to eventually, you're going to turn out the same way. Because that's all that's around you. That's all you're hearing, those type of conversations. And, it's just negative. And then if you surround yourself around positivity and people that are go-getters and movers, makers, shakers, then you get bit by that energy.
Exactly.
And then it just makes you more productive.
Yeah. And I want to say two things about that. So my mentor, Bill Walsh, he says that hang around 4 broke people and you'll become the 5th.
Absolutely.
So more or less what you're saying. But the thing about hanging around with movers and shakers is not only that you get bit by their enthusiasm, but they have the connections and the resources and the experience to take you to that level. Like I said, you can meet somebody who's got a network of, X amount of people. And instead of building that network on your own, it's like, oh, let me just tap into that. And what I really learned, and I wish I had started networking and making connections more early on, because I didn't see the value in it. But if I could impart this value to people listening, is that the people who are playing at a high level, they seem like they're unapproachable. Like they wouldn't want to talk to me, or that they're going to be arrogant, or they have their, nose up in the air. But it's actually quite the opposite. Like most of the people I meet who are doing extremely well, like I've met billionaires and like I said, prime ministers, they're pretty humble and generous and open people. And you can just like talk to them like a normal person. And if a person can kind of come in with that mindset, it's like they're just a normal person. They're
right.
Humans with needs and wants and want to be laughed at, want to be made to laugh, and they have their insecurities and not to like poke at their insecurities, things like that.
Right. I mean, we're all human, and it's because of, where they are, what they've accomplished in their life, they're more apt to help and want to teach you if you're wanting to learn,
Yes.
I mean, because essentially, we all become teachers at, at certain points of our life, with the, other people coming up, or what, it's a cycle of life. You come in, you're always a student and you're always a teacher, which is, I like it. I always like learning new things.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, so what skill or habit you think doesn't get enough credit for contributing to your success?
I think the morning routine, it gets a lot of credit, but a lot of people don't really understand it or they don't think it could be helpful. But I want to say that I was at a seminar about 5 years ago, and Brendan Burchard actually he talked about it. That's where I learned the concept of morning routine. And he said, when you talk to some of the most successful people in the world, the one commonality is that they have a morning routine. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
Brendan didn't really talk about what to put in your morning routine or how to create a morning routine. And so I took that to heart, and I'm like, okay, what can I have in my morning routine? And it took a few years to develop it. But what I realized is you want to start your day off with proactive, productive action. And it doesn't mean working on your business. It could mean things that'll help you work on your business. So my morning routine, consists of a series of things I do that help me take care of my mental, emotional, and physical health. Because once that's in order, it becomes so much easier to sit down in front of the computer and do my work or talk to people and have these podcasts. But if my mental, emotional, and physical well-being isn't in order, then it becomes challenging. And it actually puts a drain and hamper on my productivity. The kind of drain and hamper that you can't see, like you never see the direct results of your morning routine. But I found that every time I stopped doing it or I fall off, it definitely impacts my productivity, my revenue, and all of that.
Yeah, I
So,
agree with that. With not realizing that it's working until it gets disrupted.
yes.
And then you're like, what is going on? And you're like, oh, that's
Yeah,
right. I didn't
yeah,
wake up at this time and everything got pushed back or
yeah.
whatever. So
And no one can understand what we're saying until they've
yeah,
been there, where they were doing something that was working, and then they're like, "Oh, I
yeah.
don't need that," and then they stop doing it, and then like things just start to unravel for them.
Yeah, and I'm a creature of routine and structure. I
Yeah,
like it. And I'm good with, curveballs being thrown at me at
yeah,
any moment, but I have to have that routine where I know, okay, I'm up at this time, this is what happens next, this is what happens there. Here's the agenda for the day, and go from there.
yeah.
So yeah, totally agree with
Do you
you.
mind if I share my morning routine?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it'll help
Yeah, share
people.
away.
So I started with, as I mentioned, a morning routine that helped me take care of my physical, mental, and emotional health, well-being, so I could do that, so I could, be effective in my business. And I won't talk about that. But once I got that down, then I started a routine that I do every morning that is like business focused. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll check my Facebook ads. I'll check my Amazon reviews, make sure there isn't any like negative review that might impact it. I'll check my Amazon sales. I make sure to respond to all emails and organize my emails. I'll comment on 3 Instagram posts. I follow some big influencers, and I'll just make sure to comment on at least 3 people that show up in my feed. I will create and post 1 static post, Instagram or social media post. I pitch 2 podcasts. I create 1 ad, and then I practice for my podcast. So every day I wake up, I have it written down. I go through this thing. These are the things that move the needle forward in my life.
Yes.
Because it's generating leads for me. For somebody else, it could be something different. And I just go down this list. It takes me an hour. And what's crazy is before I put this into a routine, I would spend a whole day doing this, like trying to figure out what I needed to do, when, and something would come up. So I put it in the back burner and
Yeah.
all of that. But once I just took all the things that were just like needle movers and I made sure to just get them, bam, 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 bam. What would take me a few hours, now it just takes me 1 hour in the morning, and then I can actually focus on the next stuff. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And once you write it all down and you see it, that it's not winging it throughout the day, and like,
yeah,
because that then, like, for me, I find myself when I was doing it that way, I was overlapping things
yeah,
and then not getting anything done. I mean, getting some things done, but not everything that should have been done in that full day.
yeah,
And like you, it's like I have my routine that I do, and I go through and it's done less than a full day,
Exactly.
and then it's like, oh, now I could prepare also for extra things for tomorrow, the following week, or this and that. So, which is nice.
Or you can take steps to start growing or doing things
Exactly.
that are bigger. Yeah.
Exactly. So let me see. I've got a couple. There was a question here I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Here's a question that with what you're. So how do you tackle learning new things, especially stuff that's like outside of your comfort zone?
And so if I had an Achilles heel, and if there's one thing that limited me, it was this exact thing. It was
Okay.
the fact that like learning new things, things that are outside my comfort zone. Because for a long time, I slowly started getting into my comfort zone of writing, publishing books, Amazon generating sales, and all of that, where I didn't really have to talk to or interact with a lot of people. I didn't have to deal with customers because Amazon handled that. I didn't have to deal with clients because, they really have any. And I kept holding on to that. I was like resisting kind of moving out of that. And I was doing well enough at the time where I could hold on to it and it not be an issue. But again, when ChatGPT came out, I had this thing like, okay, I have to pivot. Like I have to move. I have to do something. Yet I was still holding on to the comfort zone. A part of me was still like, this is easier. Let's try to make this work. And so, and as I'm seeing AI evolve so fast, I'm like, okay, I can't do that anymore. And I am forcing myself to get out of my comfort zone, to learn new things and to apply new things. And I will say it's not really easy for me. It does take a lot of effort. And I don't think I would have done it had I not had this like big pressure that was kind of like pushing me to do it. And even then, I was kind of resistive. And so if I were to say how someone could do it, is you want to create, again, like a routine that helps you get all the important things out of your way so you can have a little bit of time for the growth and stuff. And you can use that time for learning new things and getting out of your comfort zone. Now, because I teach, learning, like memory, concentration, and all of that, what I do want people to know is that the way the brain works is that it will always highlight and put the spotlight on what we know or is familiar. Even if we learn something new, something that could be life-changing or improve our life, the spotlight will always go to what we know. And so I want people to know, like, just learning something new doesn't mean you're going to be applying it because the brain will just keep shifting it to what you know and the rest will become dark. So it's easy to spend a lot of time learning things and then and putting in time and energy and not applying it. So what we need is a way to make sure that we put the spotlight back on the things that we're learning and want to implement. And I find there's 3 ways to do that. One is to write things down and regularly look at them. Like regularly look at the new things that you want to do and implement. So the spotlight's always on it. And the writing down can be done many ways. It could be done in a note. It could be done in a journal, on calendar, on a to-do app that always that reminds you. Like
Because when you see it, it's having it visual, then your brain is like absorbing it more.
Exactly.
And then it's actually your brain's like then it becomes natural for your brain, like implementing it.
Yeah. And if you don't do that, you'll forget it, and then you'll put all that time into learning it, and you're not using it, and you will even forget that you learned it. The second thing is I try to use a lot of self-talk. So whatever direction I want to move in or whatever actions I want to take, I create a statement around it and I repeat that statement on a regular basis. Since I was in personal development, I could use an example for personal development. Let's say I learned about the importance of being assertive, right? Like asserting your needs and wants, especially in business. I could learn the concept and I could learn how important it is, but then if I don't apply it, I will forget the concept. So I'll just say, I'm a confident, assertive person. I communicate my needs and wants easily and effortlessly. Then I'll just start to repeat that so I can aim in that habit that I want. That's just one example, but we can do it in so many levels. Like if someone wants to like start learning Facebook ads, they can create a self-talk around it. Like I am effectively and efficiently learning and running Facebook ads and generating revenue. Repeat that enough, and you'll find yourself magically taking action on it.
Yeah, I find myself talking to myself a lot. Where my son, who's in 8th grade, walked in the kitchen. I was just talking, just naturally, just happens without me even realizing it.
Yeah.
Who are you talking to? That, oh, I'm talking to myself. It's like, okay, Mom, I'm not going to be concerned unless you start answering your own questions.
Yeah. You know, I think
it works, though.
It's huge, and I think we should, as a society, encourage people talking to themselves.
Yeah.
Like, we look at it, we make it like this bad thing, and so people don't want to do it, but it's a very helpful thing.
I mean, it's only bad if you start answering yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a problem. but absolutely. I mean, I find myself doing that all the time, and it just without even realizing it. There's just so much going on and so much on my mind, and I find myself talking it out, and then I hear it, and it just starts happening.
Yeah.
And what's that third thing?
And the third thing goes back to the routine. So it's, if you want to keep the spotlight on something, turn it into a routine that you're doing regularly. It doesn't have to be every day. My routines are daily routines. I tried weekly or bi-week or routines where I did something every other day, and it just didn't work for me. It was easier for me to stick to things that was every day. Mm-hmm. If you could turn it into a routine, then the routine will put the spotlight on it, and then you'll ingrain it into your body and your habit, and it'll be easier to do. Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely agree. Routine is like, it's part of my DNA. I mean, I couldn't function if I did not have a routine, like you get it. So, I mean, for those of you out there, routine is very important, and you will get so much further in life. And even if you're not looking to like go too far in life with your career or anything, it just gives you a sense of peace.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's like when you get anxious, you can just fall back to this routine.
Yes.
Like when you're like feeling like you need to be productive, you need to be doing something, like, but you don't know what, just like fall back to the routine.
Exactly. The routine is your womb.
Yeah. In fact, my mentor, Bill Walsh, he even said that when it comes to like business success, it's not these big things that you do that creates it. It's these little actions that you take every day, like just making one call every day. Or for me, it's reaching out to get on 2 podcasts every day. And 2 podcasts is not going to change my life, and it's not going to create enough revenue to support me. But pitching 2 podcasts every day consistently can bring enough exposure to do that.
Yes.
So it's about the little things that you do regularly. And that's what routine's all about.
Absolutely. So if someone listening to us now wants to get better at, being a better author, being a better speaker, being a better coach, what do you suggest they do? What tips would you give them? Like simple tips for them to just little things to get them going.
I think if they wanted to improve any area, would be to try to like really figure out what it is they want, because once you have clarity, it's much easier to get there. And I speak from experience. I didn't have a lot of clarity, which is the reason I wrote 12 books. And I had more than a few courses, but I ended up picking one. Like figure out like what it is that you really want. Like have a vision for maybe the next year or the next 5 years and where you want to be. Once you have that, then it becomes easier. Like your mind will start just telling you. Like you'll just start figuring out exactly what you need to get there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah. And then once you have clarity, turn it into a self-talk statement that you repeat on a daily basis. And so if you want to become an excellent public speaker, just say, I am an excellent public speaker. I speak very easily and confidently from the stage. If you repeat that enough, not only will that help you start to become that, but it will start changing your actions where you are naturally, without even thinking about it or without even putting effort, moving in that direction. And you think it's like almost effortless or that you're choosing to, but it's really those statements that we repeat on a regular basis that are guiding those actions that are moving you in that direction. And when I say repeatedly, like I really mean it. Like repeat it when you wake up in the morning, when you're driving to work, in the car, waiting in line, at the bus stop, taking a shower. The more you repeat it, the more we tend to become the words that we repeat. In fact, I am such a big proponent of self-talk. The first book I wrote was on self-talk. And many of my books dedicate a chapter to self-talk because I think it's really the simplest and easiest way that we can make the biggest changes in our life.
Absolutely. So what is one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career?
I would say the biggest challenge was kind of the comfort zone thing, really.
Okay.
I kind of got really stuck in the comfort zone. And, I really created a really nice, comfortable business for myself where I didn't have to deal with too many things. And, that kind of limited me. And, trying to get out into the world myself, networking events, podcasts, business meetings, and things like that. That was very difficult. And the thing that was really difficult about it was because I feel like I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I felt like I had to have a lot of credentials to get people to take me seriously, or I had to have done a lot of things for people to get people's business. But like I said, it really wasn't that. Like after doing it for years now, what I realized is like most people are pretty friendly, especially in business and especially people who are higher up. And if a person can just like let go of the self-image that they're holding on to, that they're not enough or that they'll be too much or whatever, it will make it a lot easier to connect with people. And the more connections they can have, the more opportunities they create for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as humans, we tend to be our own worst critic and install this fear, which is not real, factor that creates the self-doubt and makes us like scrutinize ourselves, at times, or the comparing yourself to others. That's the worst thing you can do, so.
It'll drive you crazy, man. Like,
absolutely.
It'll make you go nuts.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
I actually have a quote that I wanted to post on my Instagram. I don't know if I wrote it down, but it came to me this morning. So, this is another tip. Ideas leave as quickly as they come. Absolutely. So if you have a great idea, write it down, man. Like, the brain has a way of making it think, like, make you think that because the idea is so great, you'll remember it, but that you won't. I had a great quote that I wanted to put on Facebook or on my social media that I came up with this morning, but I didn't write it down. But it related to what you were saying. It was something to the extent of nobody cares about all your embarrassing moments in the past. The only person who cares about all your embarrassing moments is you. Yes. Yeah.
That's a good one. Because that's all it is. It's all in your own head. Yeah. So it sounds like things are going well for you in your business. As you're looking towards the future, I was wondering, if or how you create passive income, or if you've had invested in the past.
Yeah, for me, the passive income, really, my business was pretty much a passive income generator. I had the books that were kind of generating passive income. I had my courses that was generating passive income. I heard a lot about real estate, and because I wasn't really a people person, I didn't dabble in that area. Now I am really focusing more on AI and where the direction AI is going. I really see the future moving from entrepreneurship and business to the solopreneur. And the reason I say this is because there's so many tools that are coming out where we don't necessarily need a team or employees or even VAs anymore. Like AI is getting so good, it could just do it on its own. And as my mentor says, today is the worst that AI will ever be, meaning it's just going to get better. And it's going to get to a point where I think a person can more or less run a business on their own. And so the solopreneurship route is going to be rising. And I think people really should look more into these AI tools that are coming out, because it could really help them cut, I guess, employee or human hour time to get the same amount of output, and essentially have various forms of passive revenue just by having AI doing all this work for them.
Yeah, and I could see how that would work as a solopreneur, but I think AI also is going to be a huge benefit for large businesses, mom and pop businesses. I mean, anybody that's looking to grow and branch out, that's only going to help them get to that next level as well. And if they're looking to hire more people or do this and that, they're just going to implement that into the structure of growing their existing business. I guess it all depends on the person's mindset and where they're headed in their business, whether they want to scale it or whether they want to, scale it on a level of just on their own. Do you know what I mean? Or scale it to where it's more of like a syndication.
Yeah.
So I think AI is going to benefit both sides, entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. Did I say it right? Yeah.
Solopreneurs, yeah. It's a good word.
You're going to trademark that one. Yeah. Trademark it.
I would, but there's a guy named Chris Ducker who wrote several years ago called Rise of the Solopreneur.
Okay.
And I got that word from him. And I only started using that word in the last week once I started to see where AI was going. And I do agree with you. Like, I think not only can solopreneurs use it, but also mom and shops and businesses can use it. But I don't want to be argumentative, but I just want to, this is just what I'm thinking. But in the long term, these big businesses aren't going to need employees. Like, AI is just going to do everything.
Yeah, so, I think
so. Even they'll become solopreneurs; they'll just be much larger.
It could, but I think it also depends on the entrepreneur's mindset. If they just want, if they like to interact with humans, or do they just want to be completely automated to the point of they're truly on their own, and that's that. Which I think that's when they'll go mad and crazy, and do something drastic. So let's hope that they still keep a few bodily humans around.
Not crossing my fingers.
AI. So.
But need humans. I'm crossing my fingers. But
I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting and scary. It's the unknown, which is it's human nature to be excited and slightly scared of what's going to come of this AI world. And it's coming in fast.
It's fast. Yeah,
it's fast. So as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have in the works for the next 6 to 12 months? What do you got planned?
I think what I want to put together is a concept called a business in a box.
Okay.
So I think, as I mentioned, technology is moving really fast. And right now it is possible for a person on their own to not only start, but run their business with a lot of these AI tools. But these AI tools are just like all over the place. You could use ChatGPT, but then you need to find the right prompts, and you have to find the right agent, and they're really like text-based and things like that. And a concept I'm putting together is business in a box, where a person can, log in and they have all the tools to buy a domain, get their business email set up, get a phone number, have AI put together the website. All they have to tell them is write a few sentences of what the business does, and it'll put together a website with the email opt-in connected to the email, CRM. You'll be able to generate images and videos and emails and blogs and whatever just through one platform. So that's going to be coming out very soon. It's going to be called BUSINABOX.AI. So biz in a box.
Biz in a box. Okay. Yeah. That sounds exciting. So, Kam, thank you so much for your time today and sharing some of your insights. And I really enjoyed chatting with you. You've got a really, really good perspective on life and how you input and output things through your mind. So it was fun talking with you. I like everything you've been doing. So people want to connect with you. How do they find you?
Okay, so like I said, I'm pivoting more into AI, and I have this business in a box, as well as other tools business can use to integrate AI. How businesses can integrate AI into their workflows, and if they want to reach me, they can reach me at AI at kamknight.com. So that's KAMKNIGHT.com.
Okay, excellent. So you heard it, folks. That's how you can get a hold of Kam and learn more about AI and some of his courses and his books. You can also go on kamknight.com. That's KAMKNIGHT.com. And you'll find a lot of his books there. I've been going through them. They're pretty fascinating topics. So have fun with that. And thanks again, Kam.
Thank you very much. This is fantastic.
Great.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.